Hey, this is Mrs. Reichelt, and we are finishing up Chapter 5, so we have almost made it. The last thing we have to talk about are some developmental aspects of the skeletal system. Most of these you've already written down, so we're going to go through them pretty quickly. So don't feel like you need to write everything down, especially if you've already written it. So let's go ahead and start here. So at birth, the skull bones are incomplete. Bones that are joined by a fibrous membrane are called fontanelles. Fontanelles are completely replaced with bone after 2 years of birth, which is the same as 24 months. So in the fetus, in a developing fetus, the long bones are formed of hyaline cartilage. Then the flat bones begin as a fibrous membrane, and then over time they're converted to bone. And then after birth, the fontanelles remain until 2 years or 24 months again. And then once an individual hits adolescence, the epiphyseal plate becomes ossified and long bone growth ends. So if we have our long bone, okay, your epiphyseal plate are on each side, and once you hit adolescence, eventually this ossifies and becomes the epiphyseal plate, or the remnant of where the bone used to grow. So the lengthwise growth is going to stop. However, appositional growth, or the widthwise growth, is still going to occur. And as far as the size of the cranium, when kids are about 2 years old, their skull is much larger in proportion to the body compared to that of an adult. By 8 or 9, it's just about the same proportion as an adult, and then ages 6 to 11, the face grows out from the skull a little bit. And we've already talked about some curvatures of the spine. So we already talked about there's primary curvatures, which occur they're present at birth, and then secondary curvatures are going to develop after birth, and then some abnormal spine curvatures include scoliosis and lordosis. Most of the times these are going to be congenital. And lastly here, osteoporosis is a bone thinning disease. Unfortunately, it affects 50% of women that are over the age of 65, and only 20% of men over the age of 70. So it's definitely a disease that afflicts mostly women. The disease makes bones fragile, and bones can easily fracture. And then the vertebral collapse results in kyphosis. And then sometimes this is known as Dowager's hump. And then estrogen helps aid the health of the normal bone density as well. So that wraps up Chapter 5. I hope you learned a lot in the skeletal system, and I'll see you next chapter in the muscular system.